I'm about to tell you something you weren't expecting to hear today. In the coming days, something inside you is going to break open, and when it does, you'll realize you were never becoming someone new. You are finally seeing who you've always been. This isn't a transformation coming your way. It's a mask about to fall. And underneath it is the face I formed before anyone ever gave you a different name than the one I wrote. Suddenly everything will shift. Not because something new is being born in you, but because what was always there will finally step into the light. And when that happens, you'll understand why the last few years hurt so much. You've been carrying a face that was never yours. Stick with me to the end. Before this message is over, you're going to know the exact name I wrote over you before the world gave you another one. It's not some generic label. It's the name I call you when I speak to heaven about you. You've been waking up at 3 a.m, and you can't explain why. It's not ordinary insomnia. It's not baseless anxiety that some breathing app can fix in 5 minutes. It's something deeper. It's your spirit working while your mind is still asleep, processing something you don't yet have words for. You lie there staring at the ceiling, counting the minutes until the alarm goes off, trying to figure out why your body insists on waking at the exact same time. Like something or someone is calling you right at that moment. And it's been happening so often that even you've noticed, but you haven't told anyone because it sounds too silly to say out loud. You've been looking at yourself in the mirror early, before anyone else wakes up, when the house is still silent and there's no one around to see your real expression. And in those seconds, before you put on the face the world expects, before you rehearse the smile you'll use in the first meeting or that first text of the day, you felt like you're looking at someone you don't fully recognize. It's not vanity. It's not that usual judgment about getting older or looking tired. It's that strange feeling of living inside a person you might not truly know anymore. A feeling that lasts only a second, but follows you the rest of the day. You've smiled in public and hurt in private. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part? You start wondering if you're doing something wrong. If you're being heard up above. If it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video. A feeling that lasts only a second but follows you the rest of the day. You've smiled in public and hurt in private. You've walked into rooms knowing exactly which expression to use, which tone of voice to pull out, which version of yourself to present to each different group of people, and then you've come back inside 4 walls and let the weight drop all at once, alone, with no one there to witness how much it cost to keep that version standing all day. And no one who saw you smile today knows what that expression cost. No one knows how many deep breaths you took before entering a room just to look whole. You've tried to explain what you were feeling to someone. You sat down, chose your words carefully, tried to put into sentences what you were living on the inside. And when the words came out, they seemed too small. Smaller than the pain, smaller than the confusion. The person on the other side listened, maybe even responded with kindness, but you felt that what came out of your mouth wasn't even half of what you were really carrying. So you stopped trying. And you learned to carry in silence what you couldn't even name yourself. It's not weakness. It's not emotional instability. It's not you losing control of your own life, like maybe you've been led to believe. It's the feeling of living like a stranger inside your own existence, no longer knowing which face is real and which one was just built layer by layer to survive other people's eyes. And if you recognized at least one of these scenes, I need to tell you before I go on. You're still standing. You kept getting up, kept smiling even when you were tired, kept functioning even when you didn't understand what you were feeling inside. You made breakfast, answered messages, showed up for your commitments, and no one noticed how much it cost you. That's not nothing. That's resilience that deserves to be acknowledged before any other word I'm about to say today. And if this message has already touched something in you, leave a like. The like is your public amen. It's that small gesture that tells heaven you recognized your own story being told here, without having to explain to anyone why. Heaven registers what you confess openly, so drop that like before you move on. I need to make you 3 promises before I continue, and every single one of them will be fulfilled within this very message. Not on some distant date, not in some uncertain future. First promise. The identity confusion you've been feeling is not you losing your way. It's not a sign of instability, not proof that you're falling apart. It's the dust kicked up by a process that's scraping away, layer by layer, the mask you've been carrying for far too long. Dust is annoying. Dust makes a mess. Dust makes you doubt yourself and your own path. But dust never appears unless something is actually moving, unless something is being torn down to make room for what's real. Second promise. I'm going to show you concrete, physical, recognizable signs that confirm who you are in the eyes of heaven. These aren't abstract signs that require forced interpretation, not vague coincidences that could apply to anyone in any situation. These are things you've already lived, things you've already felt in your bones, and they're going to make sense the exact moment they're named. Third promise. Before this message ends, you're going to be able to declare your true name out loud, without doubt in your throat, without hesitation in your chest, without needing anyone else to validate what you say. Not the name others chose for you. The name I wrote before any rejection ever existed, before any disappointment taught you to doubt who you are. I saw the exact moment you lost yourself trying to please everyone around you. I saw you choose the most acceptable version of yourself instead of the true version. One choice at a time, one adjustment at a time, until you forgot which one was the original. I saw every time you bit your tongue to avoid displeasing someone, every time you swallowed a desire to fit into what was expected of you. I didn't blame you for it. I just waited for the right time to show you the way back to who you always were. Close your eyes for a moment, if you can, or just look away from any distraction around you. What I'm about to show you are signs you may have already lived without knowing how to name them correctly. Some will hurt to recognize. Others will bring relief because they'll finally make sense after so long without explanation. The first sign is waking up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. You called it insomnia, stress, a mind too restless to rest properly. Maybe you even looked for pills, teas, sleep apps, trying to silence that strange awakening that keeps coming back. But what it really is, on a spiritual level, is your spirit processing a revelation your mind doesn't yet have the vocabulary to name. You're not broken. You're being awakened before the right time, because what's coming is too big to happen while you sleep through it without noticing. The second sign is a growing discomfort with things that used to satisfy you. That routine that was comfortable has started to feel too small for what you're carrying now. That conversation that used to fill you now leaves a strange emptiness when it ends. That place that used to bring pleasure now seems to squeeze you in a way you can't explain. You called it ingratitude, pointless restlessness, maybe even bad mood with no clear reason. But what it really is tuning. You're being adjusted for the next level, and the old level no longer fits you, no matter how good it was in its time and how well it served you until now. The third sign is old people saying you've changed. Someone who's known you for years commented in a strange way, almost like an accusation disguised as a casual observation, that you're not the same anymore. Maybe it even sounded like criticism, as if changing was something to apologize for. You might have felt guilty about it, like you were betraying who you were, or betraying the people who only knew the old version. But what it really is external recognition arriving before the internal recognition. Others are seeing the change before you've even had the courage to admit out loud that it's happening inside you. The fourth sign is a sudden craving for silence in places that used to bring you pleasure. Environments that used to energize you now feel heavy in a way you can't quite explain. You prefer to sit quietly in a corner, observing instead of participating like you always did. Maybe you've even pulled away from conversations you used to love without really understanding why. You called it new introversion, social fatigue, a weird phase that will pass. But what it really is your spirit asking for space to receive a revelation that can't fit amidst constant noise. Silence isn't escape. It's preparation for what's coming. The next sign is the hardest one to hear. It's the one the enemy spent the most time trying to make you ignore, because he knew that if you recognized this sign, you wouldn't be able to deny what's happening to you anymore. He tried to distract you, rush you, make you look anywhere else before you noticed. The fifth sign, the one that closes this list, is not recognizing your own reflection for a moment in the mirror. That strange second when you look at your own face and, for a fraction of time, it looks like a face you don't fully know. Almost like you're looking at a portrait of someone familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. You called it tiredness, not sleeping well, looking different lately, overwork. But what it really is the old mask cracking right down the middle, letting through for an instant the true face that was underneath it the whole time. You're not losing your mind. You're seeing for the first time in a long while who you've always been. If any of these signs has reached you right now, write the word free in the comments. You don't need to explain. You don't need to detail which one it was. Just write free, because that's what is being declared over you at this moment. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. What I'm about to tell you won't work if your attention is split between this message and anything else around you. There's an old story that describes exactly what you're living. Jacob, alone, in a night of total solitude, far from everything he knew, meets a man no one can quite explain and spends the entire night wrestling with him. It's not a quick fight, settled in minutes. It's a struggle that lasts until dawn, a struggle that exhausts the body to its limits, that tests every muscle, every bit of endurance Jacob had. And at the end of that night, when the light is already starting to break on the horizon, the man who wrestled with Jacob asks him his name. Jacob answers, still winded, still bruised, and then he receives back not the same name, but a new one. Israel, the one who wrestled with God and prevailed. Jacob limps out of that night. His hip is dislocated forever, a visible physical mark that something changed irreversibly inside him. But he walks out with a name that carries to this day in the history of an entire people, a name that crossed generations. The pain of the struggle wasn't the end of the story. It was proof that the revelation was real, that that night wasn't wasted. Now think of a chrysalis hanging from a branch somewhere, quiet, seemingly lifeless. On the outside, it looks still, motionless, trapped in a dark cocoon that doesn't move or react to anything around it. But inside, the caterpillar is going through a complete dissolution. It doesn't transform gradually, keeping pieces of the old form while gaining pieces of the new one. It comes apart entirely before the new form can truly exist. The darkest, most still, most uncomfortable period of the chrysalis isn't stagnation. It's exactly the process that needs to happen so that what was inside can finally grow wings and fly. Just like Jacob limped out but with a new name, and the caterpillar dissolves completely before gaining wings, you're exactly in the dissolution stage that precedes your own revelation. The discomfort you feel isn't a sign that something went wrong in your life. It's a sign that the process is working exactly as it should, even if it feels like the opposite on the inside. If you identified with Jacob's struggle in the night, or with the dark period of the chrysalis before the transformation, write in the comments the word Israel, or the phrase new name. Write whichever made more sense to you, right now. Let me pause for a full minute before continuing, because what's coming next needs your full attention. You've made it this far recognizing signs in your own body and your own routine that you may never have named out loud before today. You've already identified at least one scene of masking you live, whether it's the mirror early, the smile in public that hides the exhaustion at home, or the middle of the night waking for no reason. You identified with Jacob's struggle, or with the dark period of the chrysalis, or maybe with both at the same time. And now you're just minutes away from hearing the name I've always known was yours, even before you could see it. I've always known your true name, even when you accepted the name others gave you, even when you called yourself weak for crying alone, difficult for having feelings no one understood, behind for not being where you thought you should be at your age. I never swapped the name I wrote over you for any nickname the world gave you, any label they put on you when you were too young to defend yourself. And now the time has come for you to hear that name from your own mouth, spoken with your own voice. What you're about to hear isn't a human title. It's not a motivational label designed to make you feel good for a few minutes and then fade. It's what I call you when I speak to heaven about you. The name I use when I tell your story to the angels who watch over you. The first identity is this: you are the chosen one before the foundation. I saw you being formed with specific purpose before any rejection happened, before any door slammed in your face, before anyone told you that you didn't measure up, before the first comment that hurt you, before the first time someone made you feel small in a room full of people. I had already drawn you with intention, stroke by stroke. The rejection came later. The purpose came first, and the purpose was always stronger than the rejection. What this authorizes is for you to stop accepting the labels others placed on you and start seeing yourself exactly as I've always seen you, even when no one else was looking that way, even when you yourself doubted. The second identity is this: you are the one who crosses the night. I saw every night of doubt you lived alone. Every time you lay staring at the ceiling, not knowing what to do with your own fear, and I never stopped shaping you within them. Every 3 a.m. you woke up without understanding why was me working, while you thought you were just losing sleep, thinking you were just tired. What this authorizes is for you to stop being ashamed of the silent process you lived through and start naming it as testimony. Because someone who crosses the night knows how to describe the darkness in a way no one who's only lived in the light can describe. The third identity is this: you are the bearer of the new name. I saw the exact moment when you'll carry this identity revealed today to bless someone who is still trapped in their own mask, someone you don't even know yet, but who will cross your path soon. It's no coincidence that you're hearing this now, at this exact hour of your day. You're going to be the living example that it's possible to go through the dissolution and come out the other side with a new name on your lips, without shame, without hesitation. What this authorizes is for you to stop hiding the change happening inside you and start declaring who you are before the same people who only knew your mask, even if it surprises them, even if some don't understand right away. Write in the comments the name of the identity that just reached you. It could be the chosen one before the foundation, the one who crosses the night, or the bearer of the new name. And if this message is reaching you exactly where you are, subscribe to the channel now, because in the next videos, we're going to keep unlocking what heaven has already revealed about you. I've prepared a simple protocol for you to take this revelation into your routine this week, a protocol that requires nothing but willingness and a few minutes a day. It's called the True Name Revelation Protocol, and it has 3 steps. First step: sit in silence for 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no distraction around you, and ask the Spirit directly, who do you say that I am? Don't force a quick answer. Don't create a pretty answer in your head. Just ask the question and stay quiet, waiting. Second step: write on a piece of paper, by hand, not on your phone, the word or name that comes to mind during or after that silence, without judging whether it makes sense, without trying to polish the answer, without discarding it for seeming too simple or even strange. Third step: declare that name out loud 3 times before you sleep every day of this week that starts now. It doesn't need to be a long speech, no ceremony required. Just the name, spoken with conviction, 3 times before sleep comes. The sign that this protocol is working isn't euphoria. It's not a dramatic emotional explosion, not a feeling of instant victory. It's a quietness in your chest when you declare the name. A kind of peace that doesn't make noise, but confirms on the inside, without a shadow of doubt, that what you just said is true. If you're receiving this protocol now, write the word "received" in the comments, because it confirms you're ready to take this revelation beyond this screen, into your real life. In the next 72 hours, 3 things will be launched against you, not as a distant possibility, as a certainty already on its way. The first tactic is called retroactive comparison. Memories of past failures will surface right when you try to declare your new name. Specific moments you'd rather forget, making it seem like this declaration is hypocrisy, that you have no right to speak about yourself like that after everything you've done wrong. A voice will remind you of every time you failed, trying to convince you that you have no authority to carry this new identity you just received. The second tactic is called the voice of familiarity. People close to you, some who genuinely love you and mean no harm, will say you're still the same as always. Not out of malice, but because they're used to the old version and are afraid, even if they won't admit it, of the new version that's emerging. That voice will try to tie you to the old name using familiarity and affection as a rope, saying that changing is pulling away from those who've always known you. The third tactic is called the rush for proof. An urgency will arise to prove the new identity with visible, immediate results, as if you need to show everyone right now that the change is real. This rush doesn't generate confidence, doesn't generate peace. It generates anxiety, constant comparison with those who seem further ahead, and anxiety was never the language of the rest heaven wants to give you. And there's still an internal enemy, quieter and more dangerous than the other 3, because it speaks with your own voice. It's the voice that whispers that this is all in your head, that you haven't really changed anything, that this message was just a passing emotion that will cool down in a few days, just like so many other things have cooled down before. That voice doesn't come from outside. It disguises itself as maturity, rationality, common sense, keeping your feet on the ground. But what it really does is try to push you back, calmly and without fuss, into the old mask, before you have time to get used to the true face you just recognized. If you're determined to resist these 3 tactics and the internal enemy, write the word "protected" in the comments. The decree was sealed the moment you wrote that word. Now place your hand over your chest. Close your eyes if you're in a safe place to do so. Breathe slowly, once, and let the air out without rushing, without counting the time. There are burdens you've carried for too long, and it's time to hand them over, one at a time, without hurry. The first burden is the name others placed on you. Every nickname that diminished you, every label that fit you into a box too small for who you really are. Hand over that name now. Let it go. Let. The second burden is the shame of the silent process. The shame of having cried alone in the middle of the night, of having doubted yourself, of having gone through nights no one saw and mornings no one understood. Hand over that shame now. Let it go. The third burden is the rush to prove who you are, the anxiety to show results before the right time, the fear of seeming behind in front of others. Hand over that rush now. Let it go too. I saw you in front of the mirror, early, before everyone else woke up, looking at a face you didn't seem to fully recognize in that moment. I was there with you in that early morning silence, and I already knew, even when you doubted, exactly who was looking back at you in that reflection. I saw you smile in public while you heard at home. I saw every time you entered a room and put on the expression others expected. Every time you adjusted your voice and your body to seem fine in front of people who never knew what was going on inside, and then came back inside 4 walls and let the weight drop all at once, alone, with no one there to witness. I never stopped seeing what was behind that smile, not for a single day, and I never judged you for needing it to survive until this moment we're in right now. You're no longer alone carrying what you've carried until now. The name others gave you never had authority over what I wrote first, long before any human voice named you anything else. The shame you felt about your own process never needed to exist, because everything you went through was seen, counted, and kept by me. Every tear, every early morning, every forced smile, and the rush you felt to prove your transformation can rest now, can calm down for good, because I don't need proof to know who you are. I already knew before you were born, before any person on this earth ever heard your name for the first time. I cover your mind against the retroactive comparison that will try to remind you of what you've already left behind, and I declare that the past no longer has the final word over you. I cover your relationships against the voice of familiarity that will try to tie you to the old name, and I declare that those who truly love you will learn to know you again. I cover your time against the rush for proof, because what is yours doesn't need to be rushed to be real, and I declare that your rhythm is right, even when it seems too slow. And I cover this specific area of your identity so that you never again confuse the face the world gave you with the face I formed with my own hands. I send you now, not to become someone new, but to live finally and without hiding anymore, as who you always were from the beginning. Say it out loud right now. I am who you say that I am. Repeat it, if you need to, as many times as necessary. Let those words leave your throat and occupy the space that doubt occupied until recently inside you. Amen. If this message reached you and touched something true, something you recognized as yours, write the word "done" in the comments now before moving on to anything else. Think of someone who is also living behind a mask, someone who smiles in public and hurts at home, someone who has already told you, even without using these exact words, that they don't know what their own true face is anymore. Send this video to that person now, before you close the screen and go on with your day. Maybe today is exactly the day they need to hear their true name for the first time in a long while. And if they want to go further, the link is in the first comment, waiting just like it waited for you until you got here. In the next video, we're going to unlock another level of this revelation, because the name you received today is just the beginning of what is still going to be confirmed about you in the coming days. It is done. You are not the same person you were when this message began. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part, you start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual, with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video.